Hello, everyone. All right, you guys. Well, I've got a huge error on YouTube today saying I'm going to be buffering. So you're just going to have to bear with me, and we can only hope that that improves. So with that being said, let's jump over to what I want to talk about today and hope that we have a video to share. So I think it's interesting. I'm just going to take you guys along for a while on the research. I'm hung up on Ben Bennett case being connected to the Avery case because we have the same names popping up, which is Norm Gahn and Mark Williams, Michael Camp, and Peg Lautenschlager. These names are really important to both the Ben Bennett. They're key to the Ben Bennett case, and they're key to the Avery case. And I thought it was funny because roll yesterday, I can't roll my R's very well. Roll. I don't know if I did it justice. But, he worked so hard on this case. And one of the things he said when I was going over the details of our video was that the items in evidence are disappearing. They're gone. They're gone. And it always links back to Norm Gahn. So the evidence is gone. Think of the key, how it links to link. The evidence links to link. It's just crazy. So what I wanted to kind of go over is we're reverse engineering the Stephen Avery case, which is leading us directly into the blueprint of the Ben Bennett case. And, I forgot to turn the camera on. I probably don't look that great because I just got up a little bit ago. Didn't do too much. Okay. So we're going to get to the point where we talk about the Milwaukee police destroying evidence in over 50 open and closed cases involving many of them homicide. We're going to get to that and how Norm Gahn and Mark Williams. Okay, we'll get there. But I thought it was interesting when we're reverse engineering this. Let's go back to 2016. Where are we? Well, 2016, just at the end of 2015, Ma'am comes out, right? And then there's this rash. I just keep calling it a rash because I don't know what else to explain it. And this is from the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. And it's a dozen Wisconsin DAs calling it quits this year. Now, we're not going to get into detail. We're just going to scroll. I want you to look at this. So listen to the counties I name and some names, okay? Like Sheboygan County DA, Joe Dassey, I can't even say his name, and Kenosha County DA, Robert Zaff. They're pulling out. We have this Rich Chipolet, who's the county DA for Racine, 2014 first offense drunk driving crash. And he will likely wind up in the employ of Attorney General Brad Schimmel. So he's going to get promoted. Walworth County DA Daniel Nassy also exits of a single term. Other DAs in non-candidacy include Eric Johnson, St. Croix County. And he's long-term serving since 1984. Martin Lipsky, Iron County. He was a DA since 1996. Thomas Frost, Washburn County. He was appointed by DA Governor Scott Walker, 2014. Frost has more than done his time in public service. He announced in March he would not seek election to the full four-year term. Lindsey Boone Burnett, Clark County. Prior to her election, she served as Clark County Corporation Counsel after being admitted to the state bar in 2010. Gary Lohman, Greene County, not seeking re-election even though he's held the position since 1991. Albert Mastakis, Vilas County, Republican and in office since 1995. Kim Hennenberg, Marathon County, first appointed to the job in 2009 by Governor Jim Doyle, and Donald Dunphy, Lincoln County, the Republican elected in 2004, surprised many in his county when he recently announced his decision not to run again. The state's juvenile prison complex, currently under federal investigation, is in Irma. Did I say that right? Irma. And Dunphy had declined to file charges in some cases of inmate abuse referred by the county sheriff's department. The water started heating up, you guys. You got it. Ma'am comes out, and Americans are looking around at these county boys in their own area. And they're thinking, and look at the DAs that just walk right off. That's quite astounding. So now we're going to jump over. And let's see. I want to talk about Norm Gahn. Now, Norm Gahn is on sabbatical right now, if I'm been informed correctly, okay? Everybody knows that Norm Gahn is the one that helped facilitate the bones being returned in the Halbach case to the family. And then the state, which Norm Gahn's the one representing this in this case, has stated that maybe the Halbachs were actually just given bones of animals. Now, he's a DNA expert in his field. And I want to show you that he had retired. So how is he back working today in the Avery case? Paperwork filed to reinstate former Avery special prosecutor. Let's check out what date we're talking about. February 25th, 2017. Well, originally published March 13, 2016. Wait a minute, again. Ma'am comes out 2015 at the very end in December. And what happens in March 3rd, 3 months later, in March 3rd, 2016, the Manitowoc County District Attorney has filed paperwork to reinstate a second special prosecutor in the Stephen Avery case. Avery was convicted of first-degree intentional homicide and sentenced to life in prison for killing the 25-year-old freelance photographer. Halbach's remains have been located, allegedly, I'll insert, on the Avery property in Manitowoc County. Avery has gained support from around the world since the release of Making a Murderer last December. The documentary filmmakers has access to Avery's defense team as they argued their client was framed because he had filed a $36 million wrongful conviction lawsuit against Manitowoc County. The paperwork filed earlier this week asked to appoint Norm Gahn as special prosecutor. He has yet to sign off on request. Assistant Attorney General Tom Fallon is already a prosecutor on record. Gahn was part of the team that included Fallon and Ken Kratz that originally prosecuted Stephen Avery and his nephew Brendan Dassey in the 2005 murder of Teresa Halbach. So they're going to reinstate Norm Gahn explicitly to go on sabbatical when it comes time that the carpet's being pulled out from under his feet. So Norm Gahn reflects the disappearance, the illusion of no evidence. It just disappears. It's not available. The answer is no, you can't test the RAV. No, you can't test bullets. They're gone. They're gone. Norm gone. And now Norm Gahn's gone. Sabbatical. So let's check out his little buddy, Mark Williams. Now keep in mind, before we go to Mark Williams, Gahn is in the Bembedded case. Not a little bit. The key player. Assistant district attorney and district attorney. He got promoted. And he still was handling the Bembedded case. He's handled a lot of cases. But only the Bembenek and the Avery case do we have knowledge of what he does in these cases. And his buddy, Mark Williams, his lawyer on hand, was also a prosecutor during the Bembenek case. So let's go look at Mark Williams and let's learn a little about him. 700 cases later, prosecutor Mark Williams exits homicide trenches. But he's the lawyer for the state now, right? He's the one that butt-dialed Zellner to make it sound like he thought he was talking to Norm Gahn and that they needed to check to see what was in the bags before they went ahead and agreed to talk about the bones because they didn't know what was in there and what wasn't. 700 cases later, prosecutor Mark Williams exit homicide trenches. It's likely no prosecutor in the nation has handled more homicide cases than Milwaukee County's Mark Williams. Now he's hanging it up. Is that not alarming? When Mark Williams has been found out to have given the order to falsify the documents and the evidence in the Bembenek case that cost her a wrongful conviction to this day, that this guy is a prosecutor in that case, has handled 700 cases later. Look at this guy. Lawyers often specialize in one area of law, but no one specialized quite like Mark Williams. Mark Williams has been a state prosecutor in Wisconsin for 37 years, which is notable in its own right. But since 1991, as a Milwaukee County Assistant District Attorney, Williams has handled only homicides. That's over 2 decades of prosecuting no one but killers. From jumpy teenage robbers to gang leaders, drunk drivers to child abusers, angry spouses to mentally ill children. Even a woman who faked her pregnancy then killed another expectant mother of her unborn child while trying to take the baby via a crude C-section. Even among other career prosecutors, you're hard put to find someone with that kind of focus for that long. Most lawyers burn out on such relentless tragedy and either move on into management, private practice, the bench, or at least switch over to other types of crime. Not Williams. He has prosecuted more than 700 homicides, according to District Attorney John Chisholm. He said Williams could have had any assignment he wanted, but he never asked. Williams took on more than 200 of those cases to trial and says he suffered 2 acquittals. It's something he's uniquely passionate about, Chisholm said. He brings the same energy as the first day I met him. Mike Moore, the president of the National District Attorney Association, as he asked members via an email whether they knew of anyone with experience like Williams. He said there were some with some 30 years on the job, but none with as long a focus on homicide, and no one close to 700 homicide cases under his or her belt. Quote, "That is rare that someone would be assigned to just homicides. That long," Moore said. "It's used to be if you were good enough to handle homicides, you moved on to greener pastures of private practice or elected office. Williams may have flagged his departure, intentionally or otherwise was hard to tell. During a sentencing hearing, December 12th, for Sylvester Lewis, convicted of killing 10-year-old Sierra Gutton during a playground shootout with another man in April. In his remarks to the judge, Williams recalled the days when nearly every homicide was a big news story, until the killing became so common that some earned no coverage at all. He said it now takes a case like Sierra's to ignite public outcry. But even that," Williams said with resignation and frustration, "amounts to lots of politicians and community leaders talking about deeper social toll and family changes yet to occur. This should never have happened," Williams said of Sierra's fatal shooting. "Something should have been done a long time ago to prevent this." Instead, he said, his office and the judge are left at the end to try and do justice, seemingly way too late. I guarantee it will happen again, he said, before dropping the hint that maybe now even Mark Williams has been worn down. I've personally had enough of it. Williams came to Milwaukee from Pennsylvania to attend Marquette University. He envisioned a stint in the Peace Corps, but after his father died, his mother persuaded him law school was a better option. He transferred to Marquette Law School, and he's hired by the Ozaukee County. 3 years later, elected as a district attorney at 27. He asked Milwaukee County District Attorney E. Michael Can for the job in 1984. He took a pay cut to join McCann's felony team. In 1991, McCann picked Williams to be part of the dedicated homicide unit. His last day was sentencing hearing Tuesday. Okay, guys. With all that said, we're going to look at where the Milwaukee police have gotten rid of over 50 cases, whether they were open or closed, of evidence because new DNA testing was becoming available. We're going to skip around a little bit. I've enclosed all the links in the description below for you guys. I'm going to come to top side here real quick. We'll take a little breather. And we're going to come back to this. But I just want to make sure everything's working properly. And YouTube's saying I'm airing out, so I don't know how much buffering we're suffering. That always rhymes. Buffering we're suffering. For that matter, I don't even know if we're being recorded at this point. I hope so. I hate this while we're waiting. Well, we've lost the live. Let's see if we can find it. I've totally lost you guys, I think. I don't know. Oh, wait. No, I've got two windows open. Hold on. Let's go over to this one where we're live streaming. I just want to do come up top side and look around a little bit. Make sure we're not having technical difficulty that you guys are telling me. And then we'll jump right back into the other. Okay, so we've got everybody with me so far. Okay, I see a doing good ducky. So let's get back into this. So remember, we've talked about all these DAs, Wisconsin DAs quitting in that year. 2016. We're talking about reinstatement of Norm Gahn, right? We're talking about Mark Williams retiring as a DA and going state's lawyer. I'm trying to figure out what side I need to be on. I think I need to be on this one. Let's close some of these that we've done. This just leads me to worry when I hear about Mark Williams, basically, for lack of better words, I'll say it again, getting caught with his pants down in the Ben Bennett case. And he took the control of 700 homicide cases. That's horrifying. To me. Governor Evers was talking about this thing on Twitter where he's proud to announce that our youth are going to get to go in and learn from government officials how the jobs are done. I'm horrified. Please don't pick my kids how you guys work. Please, for the love of God. It's just unreal. Okay, let's jump over here. We're going to talk about this killer left DNA evidence behind, but Milwaukee police destroyed it. We're not going to do the entire news article, but the links for these news articles are linked in the description, okay? I can't sign in even though I have a subscription or it shows my real name, so it looks like I'm going to have a problem unless I can figure out how to change my name on here. So I'm signed out to read this, but I do have a subscription. And this is the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, and it talks about the body of Deborah Lynn Oberg was found under the Hohen Bridge on July 11th, 1983. The 28-year-old single mother struggled with a man who assaulted and stabbed her outside the Summerfest grounds. An autopsy, the medical examiner discovered the assailant had left pubic hairs behind. But even with continuing advances in DNA technology, Oberg's killer likely will never be caught. That's because the Milwaukee Police Department destroyed the evidence in her case, along with at least 50 other homicides. Police trashed the evidence in the 1990s, well after authorities became aware of DNA's value in solving crimes. While most of the homicide cases were closed, some remained open and unsolved, a Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel investigation found. The department's reason for destruction? Making more room in a storage facility. Oberg isn't the only victim deprived of justice because of this purge. In another case, a man who killed a 34-year-old mother on a playground is still free. In a third, 4 children were molested after a pedophile avoided prosecution in the rape of slaying a 9-year-old girl. The police department spokesman did not answer questions about how many boxes of evidence were destroyed. In response to an open records request, police officials said they do not have a complete list of the cases. The district attorney's office was not consulted about the decision to trash the evidence, and prosecutors weren't given a list of the facts. Now, we're going to go ahead and come down here, and we're going to talk about this. No list of cases with destroyed evidence. The Milwaukee Police Department doesn't have a comprehensive list of the cases in which evidence was thrown away. Officials could not say how many cases were affected. In response to an open records request, police said they were able to locate just one memo from that era touching on what happened. The document lists 50 closed cases in which evidence was discarded. It characterized the destruction as a, quote, continued program to reduce the volume of homicide evidence being related in the homicide storage room at District 5. The memo, dated March 4th, 1994, describes the evidence as, quote, no longer needed by our department. It does not lay out the criteria used to determine which items fit that description. It also does not describe the scope of evidence disposal program, which included at least 2 large purges in the early to mid-1990s, according to several law enforcement sources. The destruction wasn't limited to closed cases, according to retired Milwaukee County homicide prosecutors Norm Gahn and Mark Williams. Gahn, who pioneered the use of DNA evidence in the criminal prosecution in Wisconsin, said he became aware of the missing evidence when he was working on an unsolved homicide case in the early 1990s. Quote, the explanation I was given was that they needed to make room on the property division, Gahn said. Quote, I didn't believe it at first, but then I found out it was true. It was baffling and upsetting. Williams said he learned of the disposal around the same time and was given the same explanation by police. I was just flabbergasted, he said. The district attorney's office was not consulted before the material were dumped, according to the 2 retired prosecutors. Both said they were never given a list of the cases affected or told how many there were. This is Mark Williams right here. They just said it was a lot of cases. Mark Williams recalled. We got no notification of it. It was something that always bothered me. I'm not going to read this because it's hard. Kids in this just get to me. Okay, DNA is gone, so crimes can't be solved. The 1994 Police Department memo makes no mention of DNA or its possible presence among the discarded items. The police department was certainly aware of DNA and its potential to help solve crimes by the time the evidence was trashed, according to Gahn and Williams. Quote, I knew when they did this that the DNA was just developing at such a rapid pace, and in the future there were going to be problems, Williams said. Quote, I know as I went through my years that there were a number of cases that we had perhaps some new leads on, but we couldn't verify those because of this. Gahn recalled a case that likely could have been solved with the new technology, the 1984 murder of Dorothy Hagen. That year, on the evening of September 30th, Hagen's 15-year-old twin daughters were walking home from visiting a relative when one took a shortcut through the playground of 20th Street School. A man grabbed the girl, ripped her clothes, and stabbed her repeatedly. A few years after that, Gahn wanted to take another look at the evidence, but it was gone. It was gone. If you destroy the evidence, you can never solve it. In the 1980s and early 1990s, the Milwaukee Police Department evidence was stored in the basement of the police administration building. The place was a disaster, according to people who worked there at the time. Evidence was stored in large boxes, which were put into bins with handwritten numbers on them. Nothing was computerized. It was tough to forge a path through the boxes, and officers sometimes got tripped up on pipes hanging from the ceiling. According to Thomas Kondrakowicz, who had been a sergeant at the facility for more than 7 years when he retired in 1996. They go on to say they used the public library. They couldn't find items. Clearing out evidence in closed cases was sometimes necessary, according to Kondrakowicz, but he said he never would have signed off on destroying materials that would have been vital to catching killers. It was carved in stone. You don't get rid of that stuff, Kondrakowicz said. If someone was trying to get rid of that stuff, they were crazy. Several other Milwaukee officers who worked in homicide and property divisions during that time concurred. In 1994, a memo said the evidence in the 50 closed cases was, quote, okayed for disposal by Kenneth Mueller, a then captain Milwaukee Criminal Investigation Bureau, who personally reviewed each one. Mueller told the Journal Sentinel he did not recall doing that review. He said he never approved throwing away evidence in an open homicide case. In a homicide, there's no statute of limitations, and we're cleared cases years and years later, said Mueller. Now, the police chief in West Bend, obviously, if you destroy the evidence, you can never solve it. The memo was addressed to Gerald Zanik, who was a lieutenant at the time. Reached last month, he said he only became aware of evidence was trashed in unsolved cases after the fact. I do recall there was some incident dealing with premature destruction of evidence, said Rubberducky, who had since retired. A copper went through the property bureau to get his evidence, and somebody said it's been destroyed. Who did it? I don't know. The police department has not yet responded to open records requests filed in April for reports relating to Oberg's case. Officials said earlier this month that they were still searching for reports. Tough to hold anyone accountable. The older it gets, the more difficult it gets to run it down, he said. It's not a good thing, but trying to put responsibility on anyone that long ago becomes a fruitless endeavor. A lot of retired California police lieutenant said he can understand why evidence in closed cases may have been destroyed in the early days of DNA. But he finds it troubling that the police department made the decision to trash specimens in open cases even back then. Without the physical evidence, he put the odds of solving Oberg's murder at virtually zero. Quote, unless you have the suspect come forward and say, I'm really feeling bad about it and I'm the one that did it, you're never going to solve it. Victims' families were not notified. From the beginning, Oberg's family had routinely checked in with the Milwaukee police about the status of her case. About 20 years ago, a detective told Bishop the evidence had been misplaced. The detective told Bishop some of the evidence had been sent to the state crime lab, So there was still hope of catching her sister's killer, but the crime lab does not store materials in cold cases, according to Johnny Comornos, spokesman for the Department of Justice, which oversees the lab. Evidence is returned to the agency that submitted it to the lab, so we would not have any old evidence in our possession, he said in an email. State law prohibits him from commenting on specific evidence at the lab, he said. Also, a problem in cold cases, missing evidence can also pose problems in closed cases, said Rebecca Brown, director of policy at the Innocence Project in New York. It's an incredible miscarriage of justice when this type of evidence is destroyed, she said, requiring the preservation of biological evidence. So can you tell me, Norm Gahn, where it slipped your tiny brain and you broke the law and allowed the DNA evidence in the case with Stephen Avery to be handed over to the hall box? And see what he tweeted about Norm Gahn and these files disappearing, because he was trying to explain it to us, but he has tweet with this big of an area to tweet in. This is what he's talking about. Why do we have DAs fleeing their jobs when MAM comes out? Why do we have Norm Gahn reinstated? Why do we have Mark Williams retiring from the DA position but getting to be the state lawyer? And Norm Gahn and Mark Williams are just in the right place at the right time to assure that the hall box get what now they claim may be animal bones? Excuse me. That's not coincidence. That's premeditated bad faith. That's young blood versus Tromboli stuff. That's the hen that's getting guarded by the fox. Ira Robbins, look him up. Get familiar with what is really going on here. He clears it up. It's our job to get these puzzle pieces put together rather quickly. And the only way we can do that is to get the information out there. Now, there's some tweets out there, you guys. We're going to come topside. So that's what I wanted to share with you. Let's close this. Well, I don't even think we need this window. Let's close this. We'll come topside. Hopefully we'll free up some little computer RAM here. I'll grab a drink real quick, and we're going to talk about some of this. So, let me see if I can close this whole window. Yeah, I should be able to. When we have Norm Gahn and Mark Williams tagging off on evidence disappearing, it's like Norm Gahn evidence. Oh, I think I just closed the live. Hold on. I'm terrible at these lives. I'm sorry if I just crashed the system. I don't know if I did or not. I hope it just pops open. I'll just keep going. But we're starting to learn who the puppets are and who the puppet masters are. And that's something that, yeah, I think I've lost the live, you guys. That's okay. That's okay. We'll try. We'll be persistent here. I don't think I can get this to open. Oh, it's opening. It's opening. I have a hard time with video stuff because I'm an amateur at the video stuff. I'm a journalist, and I try to learn what systems help me the best. But that doesn't always mean I know what I'm doing. So we've got two windows. One we don't need. That's what happened. And now let's go with this. Oh, I think we could have restored pages. We can see if that'll help. Honestly, I've said what I've got to say. I just want to know what you guys have to say. Sharing the information for me is getting it to you guys to spread the awareness. We'll go over here and click the live button and see if we can reconnect or see what happened. Yeah, I'm still live somehow. Not sure how, but we'll go peek at it. I'm not exactly sure how to get to you guys. I completely closed it. Oh, well. Give me just a second or two to kind of get my bearings. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what more I can say about these guys, but I told you, I mean, Governor Evers, I've kind of let you know that as long as you're going to keep our American hostages, Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey, I'm not exactly. Okay, let me close off the mic. I consider them American hostages, just like I consider Ben Bennick was an American hostage and held in a political position. And we're just going to keep heating up. I literally am having one of these kind of days. I'm just going to keep heating up the kitchen. We're just going to start investigating everybody. And that's all we can do. Just keep bringing public awareness, getting it worldwide known. And hopefully we can clean house and get rid of some of these. So let me see. It looks like we're still going. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll up. And we're going to jump to the second half of the video. Let me let Gretchen in. So let's see who we got. I've got top chat going. Let me switch it over, see if I can get some live chat. All right. I think we're still recording. It said start streaming 36 minutes ago. I think we're good. So, hi, Amelia. Hi. Oh. Hi, Justin. Hi, Gloria. Lisa says Tom Fallon is on sabbatical. Hey, Lulu. Good to see you. Yeah, I know you've been busy. Good to see you, though. I'm glad you caught the videos. And Kelly Perry also said that Fallon is on sabbatical. Kelly, I found out if you make a comment on a video that's already been posted, I can give you the mod wrench. So after this ends, if you want to go ahead and actually post something like here I am or whatever, I will find that and give you a mod wrench. So you'll have a mod wrench from now on in the videos. Justin said, sorry, Irma was a big deal around here. Yeah, Mark Williams. Lisa B says Mark Williams had also retired. Yeah, and he comes out of retirement. And why are people coming out of retirement left and right? Was it Fassbender that came out of retirement to do Bobby Dassey's interview? And then we have Mark Williams coming out of retirement after being a DA in the Milwaukee area. He comes out of retirement and then becomes a state's lawyer. And Norm Gahn comes out of retirement and gets reinstated as the district attorney so that it pairs them all up. And then they all basically hit the Avery case again. They're like pit bulls after Stephen. They still target him with every breath they have. Melia says, is sabbatical a euphemism for retirement or a one-way ticket to Bahamas? Good question. Hey, Sean. Good afternoon. Cold, blustery morning in London, huh? Or is it morning? I don't know. Lulu says it's a beautiful day in Minnesota. Justin says, or to an Arizona to confer with retired Link. There you go. Think of like how they're handing over these cases when they retire to certain individuals. Like it goes from like Bushman to Colburn, or no, Bushman to Link to Colburn to Jason Youst for the chain of command. It's always handed within their own little group. And they're always grooming the next one to take over. Oh yeah, that was a good video that I just watched with Roll, and I really enjoyed it, as well as Miguel Garella has been talking about the Sikiki letter, and that's something that I've always been fascinated about. And the Core Yang, I hear it beeping. No more. The Core Yang theory has always been in question. I can remember when we first found out that Core Yang had been murdered. We were all immediately worried because the Sikiki had been being talked about, the note had been being talked about and learned about. At that time, it was like the biggest, hottest topic online. And then Core Yang gets shot at point blank range at like 5 in the morning, opening the door, and his family's present in the house. And the shooter just walks away. It was like a political hit of some kind, is what we all thought. And we just thought it was so peculiar that that's what we were all focused on, was the Sikiki note. Some of the things that I've always kind of wondered about is we do have understanding of Core Yang's religious, spiritual, I guess, cultural name is, I can't say it right, but Sikhism, I believe, which is very close to Sikiki in a way when you look at the spelling and stuff. His religion was based on, from what I've read, now I may have misunderstood this in the translation because it's, I'm just grazing the surface of it, but there was some leader that had, this big leader had convinced the multimedia amount of people, just massive amount of people, that this individual was bad. And they all turned against this individual, and then later found out that the man in charge was corrupt and that the person they had turned on was innocent, and they felt horrible. And I thought that was an interesting concept from what I read, of that type of belief that, you should never do harm to another person. They're very kind, and the religion is very much that you should protect one another. So if that person did write a letter like that, they're basically saying that they support whistleblowing, and then we have the letter and it says Sikiki. So if Core Yang knew of someone or wrote the letter or had something to do with that, that's one thing. But also you have to remember that Core Yang was actually was in criminal issues in 2005, at the time of Teresa Halbach's actual disappearance. And it just so happens that there's a connection between his lawyer and the Halbachs. Okay, so Core Yang's lawyer at the time of Teresa's disappearance had some connection to the Halbachs. And I'll let you guys do your own research. I have a very sore throat today, so I'm going to spit my cough drop out. But there is a lot to that, and so, it's best to dig in. And you can do that by, like I did today. How did I start this whole thing off? This video is I went over and I Googled Norm Gahn DNA. Then I did Mark Williams DNA. And this is what we got, this video. Showing how this many DAs walked out at this time and so forth. All right, let's get back over to top side. Justin says, I knew one was now, not sure which one. Fallon definitely is on sabbatical, Roll says. I wonder why they don't call back King Kratz. KK is busy writing fiction novels for his book tour, Justin said. Yeah, in his little tree house where he's going to have all the little birds perched up there that are not buying his books, but basically, I don't know if anybody is really buying his books or buying anything King Kratz says anymore. Roll says being wrong about Gahn is normal. Lisa says, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe Fallon and Gahn will have to be rescued when Casey gets into court. Kelly Perry says, Roll, you are right on the mark. Lily says, they're all dirty, cannot keep them straight. True. Justin says, doing good, Ducky? Nope, we're all here, Ducky. Good, good, good. Lulu says, well, look at the cat man. He's still practicing law. That's really scary. Talking about Brendan's ex-lawyer, Lynn Kaczynski. Yeah. You know, they're so bad at their jobs and they just get promoted. He was made a judge at one time. It's sickening. Think about Mark Rohr. Look how uncomfortable he was as the DA during the depositions in 2004 when Manitowoc County is being asked all the questions. Mark Rohr's body language makes you want to crawl out of the chair for him. He is so uncomfortable. He's got that rash of redness just infuriating his face. And from that, you can tell if you're truly telling the truth, you're not going to be that uncomfortable. And yet he went on to become judge. Then catch the real criminal rather than catch the real criminals. Don't think sabbatical would. Being Green says, or in crooked states. And they also say they make the rules up as they go along in Wisconsin. Gloria says they can run, but they can't hide. Hi, Mira. Good to see you. How do you trip up on something hanging from the ceiling? She's talking about the boxes in the basement at Milwaukee Police, and they said they were tripping up on things hanging from the ceiling. Well, if you're possessed, you're walking on the ceiling, you might trip. If you're that wicked, you know. Oh, Lord, I love you guys so much. Justin says just wanted closed cases, and once DNA started being a big, reliable source, had to dispose evidence to keep cases closed. Yes, because without evidence, you can't know the truth. Right? You can't learn the truth. Isn't that interesting how you could take that two ways, that they seem upset, but at the same time, we've got Norm Gahn gladly handing over the returning biological evidence to the family while turning and telling Zellner that he's going to hand that over to be tested in the case. And Norm Gahn's the godfather of the mafia and the DNA prosecutor, DA, blah, 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 blah. He knows it all. And he flaunts that he's given it away and it might just be bones. Just flaunts it in our face. Somebody is really trying to call me. I do not know why. I will have to call them back. Melia says it's hard to believe they die before they get the real punishment. I'm afraid of that too. Gloria says, I'm sure they're all hoping S.A. dies. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get off here and take that call because it does look like it's very important. And I do have a kid in school, so I will talk to you all later. We'll come back to this. I always have a problem with ending lives, don't I? There we go. I found the do you want it in? Yes.